Hello and welcome back to Hudson Auto Films. Today you join me again for another day of upgrading the barn. If you didn't check out the last episode, we transformed my absolutely disgraceful workshop from a complete tip into a really nice place to be. After months of building the 4x4 Aston, the barn was in such a state of disarray. You could barely do any work, it wasn't really a particularly nice place to be, so a day of reckoning had to come, and I'm so glad we've done what we've done. But we're on a roll and we're not going to stop there. It's no secret that the barn is one of my favourite places to be. But the biggest issue is there's no electricity. When it was built, it was just going to be for storage, so there was no real need to incur that massive cost of getting electricity. But now it is a workshop. All my projects happen here, and having no electricity is pretty limiting. Lots of you will have seen I use cordless tools, and at the end of every day I have to take them home and charge them and bring them back. The amount of times halfway through the day I've been working hard and all of my batteries have died, it's frustrating. On top of that, for any job that I can't use cordless tools for, of which there are a lot, for example welding, I have to take the project elsewhere. And trust me, transporting cars and projects all over the place just to get work done is really limiting and makes everything take so much longer. Not to mention, this time of year in England, it gets dark very early. So the working day at the barn has to be very short because by 4 o'clock it's too dark to see what you're doing. So overall, the lack of electricity really limits what I can do at the barn and limits how much work I can get done and for how long. And as I lean more and more into cars, I really want to turn this into a place where I can take on any challenge. I'd also like to be able to make a cup of tea here. But here's the trouble. Hooking the barn up to mains electricity would cost such a fortune. It would cost almost as much as the barn cost to build, believe it or not, due to the location. So I'm incredibly grateful to say today's episode has been sponsored by the good people at Bluetti. They have all sorts of solutions at all different price points to tackle whatever problem you've got. Whether you just need something to charge batteries whilst you're off camping, or things that will actually power a whole building. So today I'm going to show you what they've sent me, we're going to set it up, and then we're going to put it through its paces. By the end of this episode, we should have a fully power-ready workshop, which is really exciting. So let's do this. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, this is Bluetti's AC200L expandable power station. This has a 2048 watt-hour capacity, along with 4 230 volt AC outlets, totaling 2400 watts. It's also got your USB A and C, along with your DC outputs. But what's clever about the Bluetti system is it's fully modular and expandable, which brings me on to this. This is Bluetti's B300K battery. When you connect the B300K to the AC200L, you have an additional 2,764.8 watt-hours of life. But what does this all mean in English? Well, this total setup gives you 4,812.8 watt-hours of life, which basically means you can run a coffee machine for 3.3 hours, boil a kettle for 2.6 hours, power a fridge for 24 hours, run a fan for 53 hours, power lights for over 159 hours, fully charge a laptop 34.5 times, and charge your phone over 132 times. So basically, it's got a lot of juice, and that's all off just a single charge. This thing is also totally silent, and the whole thing can be fully recharged from mains electricity in just 1.5 hours. But that's not the only way you can recharge it. You can plug it into the socket in your car, you can connect it directly to a car battery, and in my case, solar. So this is Bluetti's 200 watt solar panel. I'm going to unfold it. It's very smart and very cool. When I first got this, I wasn't totally sure what it was, and then it just kept expanding. In direct sunlight, this can recharge the setup in just 2 hours, but in my case, I'm going to be keeping it out, so essentially it will be trickle charging it, keeping it topped up. Anyway, enough specs, let's set this up and electrify this barn. It's literally only 1:30 in the afternoon, and it's overcast and it's starting to feel dark, so I'm very excited to get this set up. As you can see, when I was clearing the barn, I left a couple of shelves open, ready for its arrival, so let's see how straightforward this is to set up. Okay, so according to the instructions, you basically just use this very big heavy-duty wire, plug them together, and then all you do is fire up the AC200L and it immediately recognises that the B300K is there. So I'm going to hook this up and see what happens. Okay, so they're plugged together, so let's turn it on. Okay, so there we go. As you saw, I turned that on and it immediately woke up the B300K. From what I understand, that is it. Now we just plug something in and we're ready to go. As you can see, out of the box, we've got 40% on the B300K, and overall it says we've got 28%. So I guess we should plug something in. Okay, so lighting wise, what I've got is I've got these floodlights and I've got a line of LEDs which I wired up. I wired these up a few years ago and tried to plug them into my petrol generator, which basically just made them flick on and off constantly. So unfortunately they've been redundant since then. But I plugged them into the Bluetti, so let's turn it on. Wow. We've got light. This is such a basic thing, having light, but I'm so excited. It's just, I can stay here all night now. Okay, so as simple as that, we've got light. Now it is time to test some other things. I've been trying to figure out all the things I can test. Keeping an eye on the battery life so we can kind of suss out how much it's actually using. Right now, out of the box, we're at 28%. So I'm going to leave the lights on and just plug in some other things. Okay, so the next thing to do in our beautifully lit workshop is to charge some tools. The amount of days that I've kind of really been into a job and the batteries have died or I've kind of used them up on my power tools, it's happened so many times and it's so frustrating. So to be able to charge things here is going to be game changing. Again, a very simple thing, but just exciting. So let's plug this in. There she goes. Right, so lights are going, battery's charging. Let's plug some more things in and just see how far we can get. So it's not often you need a standing desk in a workshop, but we've got it, so let's test it. It works. Okay, so the battery's charging, the lights are on, the desk is working. So what next? We will get to this, but first, I've been wanting to put a piece of plywood across this bottom section of the table because not only will it make it a bit more rigid, but this space is kind of useless, it just builds up dirt and things get stuck underneath and all that sort of thing. So I'm going to measure this up and then we're going to plug the saw in and cut it to size. 30 and 73. Okay, so the light's been running for about 45 minutes, the battery's been charging for about 45 minutes. It actually looks like it has charged, and we've done some cutting. So let's check in on the percentage on the battery. Okay, so indeed the battery has charged, so I'm going to swap it over and put another battery on it. But let's see what percent we're at. We're at 25, so we've been running a power tool, charging a battery, and had the lights on for about 45 minutes, and we've dropped maximum 3%. Obviously we don't know if it was 28%, you know, full percentage of 28 or low, but yeah, cool. Okay, so everything we've done so far, even though it's been a good test and the Bluetti has handled it with no problems at all, it's kind of relatively low output stuff. So we're going to jump all the way to the other end of the extreme and try out the welder. Certainly for my uses, but I'm sure this goes for most of you, welding is pretty much the highest output needed. Whether it's kind of at home or in a commercial setting, there's not much that really draws more than welding. A few months ago, Isaac and I tried to do some welding using the petrol generator I had, and the petrol generator wouldn't even turn on the welder, let alone start laying beads. Most generators can't handle it. I've been told the Bluetti should be able to handle it, but I don't know. So we're just going to see what happens. Okay, so it took a couple of tries to get the settings right on the welder. This is very thin metal, it's rubbish metal basically. But I've been able to lay some decent beads, decent for my skill level, but consistent beads, which is really impressive. I'd say I've been doing this for about 10 minutes, so let's go check in on the Bluetti. Oh, it is rather smoky in here. Right, 21%. So we've dropped about 2% after doing kind of 10 minutes of light welding. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, I thought we would kind of be down to 10%. Usually with generators, especially kind of electric ones and solar ones, that's just the way to absolutely blast through their battery life. But we dropped 2%. So, I mean, you could certainly get a good, I don't know how to work it out. I'll try and work it out and put it on the screen now, but I think a good hour or two of straight welding before, you know, you run out of juice, and that's if you're not even trickle charging it. So that's really impressive. I'm really pleased as well though, because you know I get sent things every so often from brands, and I test it out, and if I like it, I talk about it, and if I don't, then I don't. And the thing with this is it's been such a genuine problem not having power in the barn that I wanted this to be good, and it is. So I'm really pleased that I can, you know, say that with confidence that I would recommend this. You know, if I can sit here and weld for an hour or so, that is such a testament to the product. You could easily power your house in power outages. You know, if you're on a remote building site, you could power just about any tool, charge batteries, go camping. If it can power a welder, it can do pretty much anything you need. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited, so I'm going to keep welding for a little bit and we'll check back in and yeah, go from there. Okay, so there we go. That's another 20 minutes or so of usage. I was using a thicker piece of metal, just some plate, and I messed around with the welder settings as a result. So I was kind of on the highest output, and yeah, we're now at 20%. So it's really impressive how little it's dropping. So yeah, this is really cool. And a perfect segue, amazingly, the sun has just come out. So I'm going to hook up the solar panel and yeah, start topping it up. Okay, so there's a running theme. It was as simple as can be, just plugging the solar panel into the side of the Bluetti, putting it outside, and now it's topping it up. What I'd like to do is drill a small hole in the side of the barn, thread the wire through, and basically permanently mount the solar panel. I don't have time to do that today, but that is my ultimate goal. But it's brilliant because if you're on the go or you're kind of moving from site to site, whether that's camping or building, whatever, you can just fold the solar panel up and take it with you, just like it's a piece of luggage. So that's really useful. But in my case, obviously, I want it to be permanent, so I will get to that. But yeah, the kind of running theme with this system is how easy it is. There's no kind of complexity or kind of prior knowledge needed to get something like this. It just comes out the box, you plug it in, and you're away. Before we wrap this up though, there is one final test which I think is particularly important. I think this has to be the highlight. Being able to make a cup of tea is something I've wanted to do here for a very long time. And now we can do it all the time. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching this episode. This is really a huge deal to me to be able to actually have electricity at the barn. It opens the door for so many new projects and just makes work so much more easy here and fun. Of course, this wouldn't have been possible without the help of Bluetti. I really am grateful for them taking a shot on a small creator like myself, as it really has kind of opened so many doors for what I can do here. So I've linked them down below. I really would be grateful if you check them out. They have such a range of products, everything from things for camping, things for powering whole properties, building sites, car chargers, you name it, they have got it. They've also kindly given the viewers of Hudson Auto Films this discount code to get you started, so all more reason to check them out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I appreciate it's something a little bit different, and it's just me testing out the product, but I really wanted to be able to gauge kind of what I could do. And I was just excited to try it out and finally do things at the barn, which I haven't been able to do ever. But of course, we'll be back working on the cars next week, so stay tuned for that. And we'll be able to do quite a lot more on them now, which is excellent. So if you enjoyed this episode, and even if you didn't, please do like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. It really does help me out. It allows me to keep making content and do more weird and wonderful things. If you'd like to support the channel further, I've linked my Patreon down below. Over on the Patreon, I share bonus content, behind the scenes, early access, day-to-day progress on the various builds, all of that sort of thing. But regardless, I am just grateful that you are here. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you then.